How y'all feeling about Kanye?
Oh man, this is crazy because it like literally every time I open up my Instagram, I see something new now. So like I literally just seen Aaron Donald and Jalen. Donda Sports, they denounced that. They said they're done with Donda
Who's
Sports.
that? Basketball players?
Basketball player and football player.
Oh, okay.
But that happened. Then I see the Adidas thing. I even seen Foot Locker make a statement saying that they won't carry Yeezys anymore.
Really? Wow, I didn't
Bro,
see that.
this
That's
shit
crazy.
is no, it's wild. Like,
Netflix was even talking about they haven't done it yet, but removing the genius
and I was
But they
wondering if they're
announced
gonna
that
do
they're
that.
not going to.
as
But-
of now.
But there's a different Kanye documentary that's been being worked on, and that I guess has been shelved.
Ceased
They're not.
production.
So that's the interesting thing about it is that if he were to have any chance of like getting back any percentage of what he's lost, he's basically gonna have to go on an apology tour and start living his life in a completely different way. And he doesn't show any signs of doing that. So you got to think that now Kanye's journey, his struggle, because he's clearly still trying to be what he was trying to be his whole life, where he's trying to be this crazy billionaire, he's trying to be the shoe entrepreneur, this fashion god, this music god, whatever. That whole path is now infinitely more difficult for him. Like he's going to have serious roadblocks in terms of manufacturing and products and getting it into retail, and then in terms of music, it's
Even
what
shows.
labels he's going to be able to work with. I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, there's still going to be people that are going to want to fuck with him just because he is so
yeah.
big. But it's like he's not going to be working with the biggest labels in the world. It's probably going to it's going to be fascinating to see
And-
who's down to go along with this ride.
And I hate to see everything that's unfolding because, you know, I'm a big Kanye fan. You know, he's I mean, at the end of the day, he's our brother. You feel me? You know, but I just wish that like he gets some real help and like not letting this shit spiral out of control. And I will be the first one, you know what I'm saying, if he to accept him back if he, you know what I'm saying, if he sees the error in what he's doing right now, because you know he's letting a lot of people down with all the shit that's going on. And I'm like, damn, looking at it as a fan, it just sucks to see this shit because it's like, my nigga, like Kanye is my favorite rapper. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So to see my favorite rapper just putting salt on this and just keep doing it and keep doing it, and it's like, damn, ain't nobody around him that's here to tell him like, bro, enough is enough.
But that's the thing is that you know there's tons of people telling him that this is not a good idea, and it's not getting through to him because he's got
No.
enough people around him, like the Candace Owenses of the world, etc., who are happy to, you know, do whatever. And you know, I had actually like my biggest tweet like ever, I think this, or not ever, but like in a long fucking time. This currently has 5 million impressions on Twitter, which I was pretty
Damn
surprised
it,
by.
B took the cards to Russia.
Yeah, it beat cards to Russia.
What a month.
I don't even think of myself like a Twitter user like this. Like I read Twitter all the time. I tweet a little bit, mostly for promotion. I'm not really out here because you notice that the thing that you do if you want to get big on Twitter is you go tribal. You say something controversial that aligns yourself with one side or the other. You say something super pro-trans or you say something super anti-trans. Both of those work. What totally doesn't work is you saying something moderate and reasonable and nuanced in the middle, you know? And so I try not to play that game too much. I try to like only tweet stuff politically when I like really give a fuck enough to like actually feel like I have something worth saying or whatever. And so this morning I tweeted this because I was just kind of taking a shit in the morning. It's what does it say? 8:30 a.m. So this is like actually immediately before I start my workout. So I was definitely taking a shit.
A twit and shit.
Yeah, twit and shit. And I wrote, Kanye spent 20 years building one of the biggest empires in music and fashion and threw it all away because he wanted to repeat Candace Owens' talking points on TV.
And that's the saddest thing of all this to me is you can't, when you look at Kanye West and his musical contributions, forget everything else. Just look at his musical contributions. He is
Immaculate.
You have to compare him to Quincy Jones, to Phil Spector, to
100
Sir George Martin,
100%.
to Prince. You can't compare him to any other hip hop artist. People were talking about a verses with Pharrell and Kanye, and I'm the biggest Pharrell fan ever, but that's a fucking laughable conversation. There's no verses between Kanye and anybody else. As a producer, as an artist, his catalog is the greatest, not just in hip hop, but in modern music of the past 2.5 decades. Everything else pales in comparison.
Just him in the culture in general is what he's done and the strides that he's, you know what I'm saying, came to be now is like, it's amazing. But that's what he said, just to see it all go down, like it seems like it's over fucking night. And I will say this though, I wish, and I see a lot of people saying that, I wish they had this type of energy for people that are anti-black and they say racist things and anti-racism for all. You know what I'm saying?
But I feel like there is a lot of that.
No, but hold on.
You can say shit about black people and you ain't about to lose. You're not about.
What was the dude Donald Sterling or whatever? Didn't he lose this whole basketball team because he said the N-word?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not.
Okay.
It's not.
But I feel like that's kind of like the status quo right now. It's like
Dog.
if you're a famous person and you're caught saying anything racist, you're damn near gonna lose all your opportunities the same way Kanye did.
Not to this degree though.
But this is also different though, because it's one thing to be like a public figure who's caught saying the N-word one time on camera. It's another thing to go on camera and publicly commit yourself to this anti-Jewish ideology. And I'm not saying that it's cool for white people to say the N-word in private or whatever, but I do think that this is perceived very differently than even something like that fucking Donald Sterling thing.
Okay, and that's a really solid point. But beyond that, Eminem had a tape where he said the N-word with a hard R several times.
20 years ago.
Correct. Talking about black women in a very derogatory manner, as disrespectful as possible, perpetuating all kinds of stereotypes. If that tape came out now, because when it was a much different society when that came to fruition, and he received little to no backlash from it.
Well, I mean, the source did like dedicate entire issues to
But
it.
he's not going to lose his bank account. He's not going to get
The source was still very relevant at the time. This is after only a couple years into the sort of XXL takeover. Like the source was still huge.
The source was the biggest.
It was in every Barnes and Noble and grocery store in America.
It was the hip hop Bible, but keep in mind that why was the source pushing that narrative so aggressively?
Because Benzino hated Eminem for sure, and a lot of people saw through that, and I think that that's a big part of why it wasn't as cataclysmic to his career as it could have been. Because still at the end of the day, when you get canceled, a lot of it has to do with who stands by you. And Eminem had almost no important people in the rap game really like fully turn their back on him. And he has, Dr. Dre and 50 Cent in his corner. And it was so obvious to people. It was so transparent that this was a Benzino hit job. Yes, the tapes were real, but the messenger matters a lot. If Benzino really had been calculating when he put those tapes out there into the world, he might have handed them to a journalist from a more reputable publication, because I think if it was a Pitchfork article or a New York Times article or some shit that exposed Eminem saying that stuff, it might have been perceived differently.
Let's be real. Mel Gibson said, hope his wife get raped by a pack of niggers. But he didn't lose his bank account for saying some shit like that.
But let's be real. That was a drunken tirade that, yes, it's disgusting and he said terrible things, but people perceive it one way when it comes off like a drunken fucking tirade when Kanye goes on all these podcasts over and over and sort of like affirms his beliefs on these things.
But you can also say Kanye is diagnosed as bipolar and he's not taking his medicine, and they're letting him go on publications and say all type of things.
That's what I'm saying is that I think that probably is his out if he's going to be basically like accepted by corporations at some point. But in order for that to happen, he's going to have to say, hey guys, sorry, I've been having a bipolar meltdown for the past couple of years. Please forgive me. I'm going to change my life. Here's how I'm going to dedicate myself to progressive causes. No sign of him doing that at this point.
If he becomes an outspoken advocate for mental health, that is literally his escape hatch from this entire thing.
And you got to give him credit, because most people, Nick Cannon, I mean, he tried to stand on his shit and he was having meetings with rabbis 48 hours later, man. He
took the shows.
Let's be real. Like, Nick Cannon saw what was happening to him and he made a strategic decision to fall back. And I believe that he probably was exposed to information that kind of made him realize that some of the information that he was reiterating was maybe not the best information. And I'm not saying that he was totally full of shit when he apologized, but Nick Cannon fell back and is still realistically in the process of restructuring his career right now, because he had some spicy shit to say about Jews. Kanye's a way bigger star than Nick Cannon. He said way crazier shit, and he said it way more times. And when you're saying it multiple times over the period of multiple weeks and months, people are just going to perceive that way different than Mel Gibson doing the N-word rant, which
1,000%.
It's super fucked up, but it's also there hasn't really been anything else in Mel Gibson's life story that makes us think that he's a racist, right?
Besides
That nigga had
besides
like 11 fucking voicemails, and I listened to them all.
not just that though.
Yes.
Mel Gibson is
You
a,
make me smoke. You ruin my day.
I'm not trying to minimize it because I don't
Hold on,
know
though.
what else Mel
He's
Gibson
also-
did.
That nigga at one point was really breathing, just
He's a raging anti-Semite. He literally produced The Passion of the Christ, which was essentially a visual hit piece on Jewish people.
I haven't seen that. Should I watch that?
the passion of Christ.
Josh, you feel me on this or
My,
what?
my
Yeah.
granny made
You
me.
fuck with it?
My grandma made me watch
Josh
that.
hates it. Josh is a Jew though. He hates it.
When it came out, my granny made me watch that, and I was like, "Oh my god."
Look, and that's white Jesus in all his
That's
glory.
right.
But
And this is my thing: is that Kanye is spreading terrible anti-Semitic ideas to a fuckload of people who realistically have never heard this shit before. And in response to that tweet that I put up today, I saw a lot of people who seem like normal fucking black people who feel empowered to some extent by the shit that Kanye said and the fact that he's being canceled. Like, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy to people like them that like, oh, look, he was right about everything. And it's like he's introduced a lot of evil into the lives and into the minds of a lot of fucking people. And there, in my opinion, there's blood on his hands. And when I see that fucking white power group doing that demonstration in the valley saying Kanye is right about Jewish people, I mean, look at how he's fucking feeding into and empowering these people.
well, and
I mean, nobody from the KKK ever lost their fucking bank account.
All right, people, we just hit 300,000 subscribers. You know we're trying to hit 400,000 subscribers. So that little red button, tap it, tap in. We appreciate y'all.